my peak natty physique was ripped 87 kgs.
Okay, so that's like,
and I'm 182. I'm 182, and I was really happy with it.
okay, so that's like 190 pounds lean. Yeah, that's pretty good for natural.
No,
So like, so you found when you got on gear, you pretty much gained like recently you posted a snap. It was either a Snapchat or an Instagram story, and it was showing like your peak natural physique. Do you know what you weighed in that picture versus like you say now you're shredded like 100 kg?
Yeah.
What were you at the?
That was back in the days. The goal was always to be 100 kg shredded. That has been 100 kg shredded. It was always the goal. Then one time I reached it. Then I dropped down to 97, 95, 94. And then, because when you are just pushing the diet too far, at one point you're also losing muscle. It's just like that.
Yeah.
So that's why they ask me, why are you always so shredded? I'm just like, I'm just not. It's always like this. Today I'm in a deficit, then I'm in maintenance mode, then I'm in a slight surplus, then I'm in deficit again. So I'm always kind of going like this because you never can 100% perfectly guess your calorie burn per day and your calorie intake to be so specific. And then also I'm doing flexible eating. So I always, sometimes if I want to look better, then I just push it a bit harder, and then I look worse, and then I just relax a bit. So I'm always up, fluctuating a lot. And my peak natty physique was ripped 87 kgs.
Okay, so that's like,
and I'm 182. I'm 182, and I was really happy with it.
Okay, so that's like 190 pounds lean. Yeah, that's pretty fucking good for natural.
No.
So like, so you found when you got on gear, you pretty much gained like 13. Like, I guess you're leaner at 100 kg than you were at 87 kg. So you probably gained like 15 to 20 kg of like pure muscle over the span of all your anabolics, would you say? Is that kind of?
Yes, but also we need to see that one factor is the moment you stop, you will lose a lot of water, which you're just not able to hold anymore in your muscles.
So it's like temporary, like weight, not muscle weight.
Yeah, this is like, let's say it's like my arm looks like this, or like I swear my arms, they would just be 1 centimeter less big in total when I'm off.
Right.
Just because that bit of test gives you like, like people, they say this guy looks always like he's pumped.
Yeah.
This is a bit of the feeling that you have with the test. So it's definitely a difference, but not that it's like you are 20 kg more heavy, which means 20 kgs more muscle. Maybe it's more like 10 kg muscle and 10 kg of water weight.
Yeah. So you already had a pretty good physique as a natural. And then when you were using shit, obviously at some point through your 20s, you decided, I don't want to try and become like a freak giant bodybuilder. I don't need to push the dosages that aggressively to do that. I'm going to come down to more like TRT and then sort of like bump it up or bump it down based on kind of what I'm doing with my physique at the time, I assume. So like, what made you decide to kind of like really reel back on the dosages? Did you have like a really bad set of blood work or something, or like what? Because most of us, when we started, even your story, you were like, this guy told me to use Tren and use this and use that. Like, once you learned that wasn't like good for you necessarily, was there a point in your 20s where you're like, oh, I'm gonna?
Okay, I realized like this. I tell you straight up. So I would always be like, I want to look better, so I would take more gear. So let's say then I bring in some Masteron or whatever. Tren, I just really hate that shit, bro. So I would just maybe use some Masteron and increase my test intake, and maybe add maybe 20 milligrams of Winstrol or whatever a day. And then I would blow up, man. I would get massive. I would hold so much more water. But always when I did this, I was somehow not being able to stay on my diet. I would, for whatever reasons, always eating too much. And then I use all these like supplements to make me more dry and full. But I would just blow up like a balloon because I'm then eating too much. So then I was like, okay, I always felt like I looked the best with like 125 to like first I was 250. And then I was just bringing it down to 125 because I just felt the best like with this. I just felt more better.
Yeah.
I also now have a mate. I have a mate. He's going to take out the test almost completely, just like to 60 milligrams a week or something he's going to do, because the higher his test, the worse he feels. That's what he says. So I was also like talking with people and they said, yeah, 125, I'm on dress replacement. I just feel so good. So I was like, okay, I want to try that. So I did it. I felt good and I looked good enough, like good enough for what I was thinking that I wanted to do. Like with my Instagram stuff, I was like, it doesn't make a huge difference if I'm now 90 kgs shredded or I'm 100 kgs shredded or 110 kgs, but still I want to be like halfway normal looking, like a normal human being, which I can already tell you that when I walk outside here in public, people would be staring at me all the time. And I'm not even that crazy big. But imagine you are just already like 10 kgs more heavy. I remember my mate in Germany, we've been in like outdoor park where you can swim and all that stuff in our swimming shorts. And then this guy is 120 kg, also quite ripped, like a proper bodybuilder, man. He would walk through this way and there's a restaurant. Everyone goes like this. Everyone goes, people would tap the other guy on the shoulder, like, look at him. Yeah. And then it's just like, you feel like a monkey in a zoo, bro. Like anything you do, people would stare at you and observe you and look at you. And it's not in a good way. It's always in this way. It's more like the juice head, man. This is a juice head, like this more.
There's this video of Flex Wheeler back in the 90s walking down the beach with his shirt off. And like the reactions, man, it's like obviously, when you're a Mr. Olympia, like presumably he liked the attention, but you can tell you're kind of like a circus freak almost, the way people look at you. It's like every single person is like, what the fuck is this thing walking down the sidewalk right now? Yep. And it's like steroids, 100%. That's what everyone's thinking. Yeah.
It's not only also about this, it's also, let's say, that people, they judge you anytime you look different than the normal. The norm in Germany, that's very bad. Let's say, punks, right, with these high, or let's whatever the style with the
Irokese, like the emos green, and stuff.
The
goth people.
Like it's just like that. So exactly, if you come out like this in public, people will just look at you like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, why is it's different? It's not accepted. And then the same thing with bodybuilding. It's just like you are big. It's just like it has a touch, like some negative touch to it. So I was always like, I saw all this and I was 115 kilograms once. And I was just seeing like how it is. And when you walk in public and how to find clothing, just being out of breath and all that stuff, like, man, being too heavy is not even that nice. Being that big is a big sacrifice that you need to make, that you just got to be okay, that everyone might be staring at you, that there's probably a lot of feedback which isn't positive, and that you just also can't maintain like a normal life like everyone else, man. It's just like you need to eat more than other people. Maybe let's say me having the MRI scan, it's hard to fit in the machine and all that stuff. So there's a lot of downsides that come with being too big as well.
Yeah.
I saw this like aesthetic kind of thing, right? Yeah. And then I was always telling myself, this is what I'm about. I want to look aesthetic, and I believe even people, they can look like me. Like there's some guys that are black, they have just really superior genetics. And I mean, one of my ex-teammates in the UK, I go to the photo shoot, he looks exactly like me almost, and he says he's not using, and I would believe him. So I'm not that crazy big, and it's not out of this world, but it has never been my goal to be a Mr. Olympia competitor. But the goals are different. Just let me finish it off like this. If you want to get that crazy big, consider the fact that if you are over 110 kilograms, you might always have problems just living a normal life like everyone else.
Yeah. Did you have like a goal physique when you started that you were like aspiring to replicate or something?
I mean, back in the days when I started, it was the time where Cease was there, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing. He brought in the aesthetic stuff. That was him. Big credits to him about all this shredded aesthetic stuff. That was him who started all that. And then Alon Gabay was one of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like not Jeff Seid was there, but it was like looks good, but it like Ryan Terry stuff. People like this, Ryan Terry, then Sadiq Hazovic. What is the other guy's name? He doesn't like me anymore. It's also a guy from the UK.
Tom Coleman.
Tom Coleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys like this I would watch. I was even going and meet these guys on the fitness expo in the FIBO. I would be a fan of the sport and then like eventually just push it myself and just keep digging in and becoming someone myself.
Gotcha. As far as like when you were building up your physique to begin with, now obviously I think you would probably say as I don't know if like for me, I know for a fact most people's physiques you can maintain a lot with like 125 tests, for example, but to like build what you got, like was there a certain amount of shit you felt like you needed to use to get the physique
Yeah.
that you could then maintain with the 125? Like what was like your best, most productive cycle you felt like?